Hello, One Piece fans. I'm here back to give you my personal opinions about Pirate Warriors. In this case, number 4. Now, I know we just got Pirates Warrior 3, and it was, in my opinion, a very good game. I really liked it. I love the fact that they were going through the actual story of One Piece and had a lot of it basically held true to the story for the most part. Other than Dressrosa, which was, its own little version. I mean, you really couldn't do Dressrosa and finish it off because Oda never even finished the chapter when they were making it. So, I mean, it would have been impossible to actually really do the full chapter before he actually finished writing it. It would have spoiled it. And to me, I'm glad that it was an original story for that case. But moving forward, Pirates Warrior 4 will absolutely have the correct version of Dressrosa on there. Now, as far as other arcs I would like them to do, they should definitely do Whiskey Peak. I think that's an arc that they just skipped over. I think it was important to the story, personally. It was the first island in the New World that they actually traveled to, and there was a lot of fighting there. I think that is a perfect place to actually do an actual event on. I think it was one that they should have done. Another one was Amazon Lily. I think that's another place that they should have done a little adventure on. Personally, I think it was a missed opportunity for them. I think those two little places I definitely would have done. I mean, I wouldn't have done the round island one with Foxy. Nah, I think it would have just been overkill for the Straw Hats on that island. And I don't think many people like Foxy, personally, as a villain. He's kind of like a very bad version of Buggy. At least Buggy is funny and respectable, and somehow he's got Luffy's charisma and gets people to follow him. But anywho, those are the two arcs I would have included into it. Now, by the time we probably get the next game, as I said, Dressrosa will be actually long since past. Zao, the next arc, which you're gonna see, is going to be the actual next island. They're going to actually get that taken care of. Wano, I think, is going to be another island that they're going to do. And I think Elbaf. I think those 3 arcs will be there by the time we get the next game. And just in my personal opinion, if they don't have any arcs in between, any other arcs other than those 3 by the time the next game comes out, and I'm just speculating those 3 arcs will be either done or, in Elbaf's case, probably partially done. They should do one final arc afterwards, which is just speculation on Luffy's final war that they keep talking about down the road. Now, while I was actually also doing I was thinking about this game as far as what other characters should be added, even if they're not playable. I came up with 90 characters. I mean, that's a lot of characters, and it's a long list. Oh, and I broke it down based on arcs. You can kind of see what I'm thinking about. And that's not even the future arcs. That's just the current arcs from Romance Dawn to Dressrosa. Those are all the characters I thought were important to the story that did not make the game in this literally past Pirates Warrior game. Some of the characters I didn't include. I did not include. I didn't think they were important enough to the game. I mean, I could have, but way too many characters that Oda has. Way too many. And I'm looking through this and I'm thinking, who has to be there? Like, who absolutely has to be in this next game? I mean, I can think of absolutely a bunch of them. And these are all guys, like I said, I would personally include, but 90 is way too many. So, I mean, I think no matter what, you're going to have to do Kaido and Big Mom. Those two characters absolutely have to be in the next game. You have to do the Supernovas. Like, you have to. Eustace Kid, to me, was a very big character that should have been in Pirates Warriors 3, but did not. He, to me, is the biggest glaring omission in the game, as far as I'm concerned. But he should be, no matter what, in 4. X-Drake, Capone Beige, Scratchman Apu, Jewelry Bonnie, Basil Hawkins, Aruge, all of the Supernova Killer, all the Supernovas should be in the next game, as far as I'm concerned. You just had Fujitora, so you have to add the other Admiral, Green Bull. You have to add whoever the 7th Shichibukai is, who's probably Jack. And there's a lot of theories that that's going to be Jack the Giant Slayer. You have to put it, whoever the next 7th Shichibukai is, once he's revealed. Like, you have to. Like, you have all the other Shichibukai, you have to put them in there. Like, without a shred of doubt. Now, as far as other people, I think you absolutely have to add Luffy's new allies. Cavendish, Bartolomeo, Leo, Sai, Harujin, Idio, and Orlumbus. Like, at bare minimum, you have to add those 7 guys, because they're Luffy's new character. They're Luffy's new fleet commanders. Have to. It would be a shame not to. I think those are definitely the absolute must-dos. People that I think, as I said, there's a lot of people. I mean, you know what, I'll just go over the list. Romance Dawn, I put in Helmeppo. I think you have to put him in there because he's going to be in a lot of arcs. You have Romance Dawn, you have post Enies Lobby, you have Marineford. So you have 3 arcs that Helmeppo is part of. Orangetown, Moji and Kabaji. You have them in Loketown and Orangetown with Buggy. So, I mean, right there, that's a couple arcs. Syrup Village, Django. Django is not only in that arc, he's also in Alabaster, and he's at Marineford. So he's in a couple arcs. You have Arlong Park. Even though these guys are only in 1 arc, Chu and Kurobi, I think you needed a couple more fishmen in that arc to warrant the actual battle, because I think it was a pretty decent-sized battle. Loketown, like I said, because of all the other characters that came into it, you added a couple more. I didn't throw any new additions to it. I think it warranted it. Whiskey Peak. I did say I'd like to have a Whiskey Peak arc. Vivi, Mr. 8, Mr. 9, Mr. 5, Miss Valentine. I think that's basically what you should add there. Drum Island, I'm sorry. As much as I really wish this arc was not in there, you basically are done with that arc. Unless you want to add Wapple's 2 minions or the future leader of Drum Island, I think that arc is done. I wouldn't touch it. Matter of fact, I don't even think I would have had the bunny in the game, but they had the bunny in the game. So it is what it is. Alabaster. There's 4 characters I would consider adding. Mr. 4, Merry Christmas, Miss Doublefinger, and Hina. Along with the other characters that you would see in that arc earlier, like Django, and, I forgot to even mention Baratier, Jin and Full Body. I think you had to add that. Full Body would be in the same arcs as Django. Jaya. You don't really have to add anyone else to Bellamy's crew. I don't think it's needed. You don't need to add anyone from the monkey guys, or you don't have to add the descendant of Liar Noland there. You don't have to add them in. But I do think you should have added, if you're going to have the Blackbeard pirates make a appearance there, Jesus Burgess and Blackbeard I don't think are enough. I would have brought in Van Augur and Doc Hugh as combatants as well for that arc. Personally, if you're going to do Blackbeard, you might as well put a few more guys of his army in there. Skypiea, I think it's good as it is. I don't see adding any more Shandarans into it. They're not important enough into future arcs. Same thing with Enel. There's nothing been with Enel. This is the only arc where you absolutely have no one that could possibly show up in the future, other than Enel. And he has none of his 4 followers with him, if he comes back at all. Water 7, I wouldn't put any new additions in there. As much as, Galila did a couple stuff. You had the 2 giants, the Frankie family. No. I think you've done enough at Water 7 as far as characters. I wouldn't add anyone else into that. Enies Lobby, you absolutely should, in my opinion, include the rest of Cypher Pool number 9. Fukuro, Khalifa, and Kumadori, I think you really should have had all 3 of the other members be there. You had 4 of them. I don't think I'd put Spandam in there. Spandam is horribly weak and is useless. But I would have done the other CP9 members if it was me. As I said, I know this list is long, so bear with me. Post Enies Lobby, I wouldn't do anyone. I think they had the right people on there. By all means, I think I would have kept it the way it is. Thriller Bark, you had Moria, you had Ors, and you had Kuma, and you had Perona. You had 4 people there. So, you had a decent number of people on that arc when you had that arc going on for that game. To me, I would have liked to see Hogback and Avalon and Ruma. Ruma, because he's a amazing sword fighter, and I would have loved to see him fight Zoro. Avalon, I think that invisibility capability is an interesting fight. And Hogback, I think he's important to Chopper. It's character development to have him in there. So I think those guys were, to me, you gotta have. Now earlier I said Saboti. I mean basically all the members of the Supernovas which I already put in there, so I don't need to get into it anymore. I mean, if you really want to, you could throw in Rayleigh. Maybe you know what? For hell of it, Rayleigh. For hell of it. Amazon Lily. Again, it's an arc I would have done. I would have added Boa Hancock's two sisters, Boa Sandersoni and Boa Marigold as bosses with Boa Hancock. Me personally, I would have, but I didn't make the game. Impel Down was definitely a very nice little, definitely a nice game area where, I mean, you have Luffy going down the jail, then going back up the jail. You could have done a lot more with it. Personally, I might have considered breaking that into two parts of the game, the going down part and then the going back up part. So, as far as other characters I would have added, Izuna, Lafitte, Shillelagh, and Sadi-chan. Izuna was the revolutionary. I think you could have used him. I mean, he was in two arcs. You had him at this area in Marineford. Lafitte and Shillelagh are Blackbeard pirates. They're important to the story. You really should try to get all the Blackbeard pirates in. Sadi-chan, I think you need your a little bit more female villains in there. That's why I included a couple of Rogueworks villains, because I think you need a couple more women in there, because there really isn't enough. As far as Marineford, I don't know if you can add all these guys in. I just threw their names in for the heck of it. Stangeon, Wolf, Vasco Shot, Catherine Devon, and Avalo Pizarro. Again, Blackbeard's men. Red-haired pirates, they showed up at the end. I don't know if I'd actually include them in this level, but I would consider putting them in at least in a later level. I just wrote them in here just because it was the first time you really saw them. Ben Beckman, Lucky Guru, and Yasopp. Those are the three I would add, kind of like how Whitebeard had his Vista, his Jozu, and his Marco. I would not add any more Whitebeards. I think that's it. Just like I think you should have a couple for Shanks. As far as Admirals, we already said you have to add in Fujitora. Well, you already have Fujitora, but you have to add in Green Bull. But I think you should also add some Vice Admirals in there. Momoga, Bastille, Doberman, Dalmatian, Stainless, John Giant, and this is probably one of the biggest omissions in, again, Pirate Warriors 3, Sengoku. You have the Fleet Admiral at that point in time, not even added in the game, and he went into full, like, Uso mode, Giant Buddha, so I personally would have had him in the game. Now, Returns to Sabaody. You know, you could... I put in Caribou and Korobu, because I think both of these characters have had reoccurring areas where you could use them here and Fishman Island. Personally, I think they could both work in this area as villains. Now, as far as any other people, I really wouldn't want to add the fake Straw Hats in there. I really would not want to. They were too lame as a villain. Too lame. So I don't think I'd add them in personally. They were way too lame. Fishman Island, I would personally not add any of Horty Jones's like lieutenants. I don't think they're not going to be back in the series at all at this point. I don't think they're worth putting in there. Punk Hazard, You had 3 characters that made an appearance there that I absolutely would add. Baby 5, Buffalo, and Kinnymen. I would definitely add those 3 in there. All 3 are interesting characters, and I definitely would. Now, Dressrosa, I broke it down to 3 parts. I don't know if they would do that in the game, but I broke it down to 3 parts. So, let's just say I would make sure that, again, all of Luffy's major subordinates are in the actual game. I would add all the Doflamingo characters. I think his and Blackbeard's are the 2 that you kind of really have to do, because I think Dressrosa was such a big arc. And personally, I think they should break it down into a couple parts of it, much like you had, like the whole Water 7, and Enies Lobby, post Enies Lobby arcs. I think you really should break it down into, and you had Marineford broken down into 2 parts as well. So I think I'd break it down to 3 parts: the Greenbit part, the Coliseum part, and the final battle of Dressrosa. So, Jorah, Don Chinjao, Saibu, Idio, Harujin, Rebecca, Kiros, King Riku, Violet, Tribble, Diamante, my bad. Pika, Machivice, Lauji, Gladius, Senior Pink, Dollinger, Suleiman, Bartolomeo, Leo, Cavendish, Hack, Koala, Gugili, Abdullah, Jeet, Orlambus. That's what I would add. I don't think I'd do the King of Province or his little, like, the guy who thinks of stuff for him is Tactician Dagama. I don't think I'd do them, unless you're going to convince me that they're somehow going to be in the game, but I don't foresee that happening. I mean, for them in the series later on, I don't foresee that happening. If anything, he would just declare them his territory protector, all I could see. And as far as characters not listed, like I said, Big Mom, Kaido, I'd probably do Tamago and Peckham's for Big Mom's forces. Hopefully by the 7th Shibukai, like I said, would be someone I would add in. Whoever it basically is. And hopefully we'll have a couple more of Big Mom's force and a couple more of Kaido's forces revealed. They really haven't done much with them yet. And that's what I have as far as people that I think have to necessarily be at least shown in the game a little bit as possibilities. I mean, we don't have to go to that extreme as far as actual people. Heck, we could do what Dynasty Warriors does, and just have random slated male and female characters with their names. Even you could do that with all the actual characters, even if you don't like character design them. At least use their names and have some generic person that you're fighting against instead of Pirate Boss or Pirate Captain. That might even be a little bit more interesting, even if you don't actually show their capabilities. So, I mean, that's something I would think about. And as far as people in the future, Zoe, Wano, and Elbaf arcs, I mean, you can't predict who's going to be in those arcs, so I can't even write them in at this point. We're just finishing off Dressrosa. And to me, Dressrosa was a really good arc, a very long arc, and it's something that I would probably break down in 3 parts in the next game if it was me, personally. Like I said, Coliseum, Greenbit, and like the Battle of Dressrosa, where you have Luffy start off going towards like the actual castle, and you have basically his forces battling basically the members of Don Flamingo's family. Yeah, I think that's what I personally would do as far as the game itself. Okay, so obviously, I mean, leave your comments below. I gave you my 2 cents as far as who I would add in. I mean, you could come up and make it even longer if you want. You can cut down, make it shorter. It's just me talking about the game. I like the game. Even if you don't do the character designs for all of them, I would probably think about just doing what the generic Dynasty Warriors or Samurai Warriors do and just put their names in there, even if they're generics. And some of them, I definitely would do character designs. I'm not saying playable, not by any means. You can add a couple more playable characters, but I'd certainly like to see more designs as far as some of the bigger characters that we completely omitted. Eustace Kid, to me, was one character I would absolutely have had in this last game. Same with Sengoku. Those two characters, I think, were glaring omissions in the last game as far as characters. Like, the two most glaring. Absolutely. Heck, you guys can put in your most glaring omissions. To me, those were my two most glaring omissions. Yes, I know I didn't list any of the Kid Pirates, or I didn't mention Trafalgar's Laws Pirates. You've only seen them in one place, so at this point in the story, as much as I like Beepo, I don't think I would put him in the game just because you've only seen him in one place entirely in the game at this point, which would have been the Shibodi arc. But there's so many supernovas in there, I really don't think you could go through and do the entire crew. Certainly he's been in a bunch of areas between arcs where there's no fighting, and there's no point in basically trying to actually display a character when they're not fighting in a game. Unless it's just, unless you want to do like Princess Shirahoshi, where you will never see her fight, but have her be in a place where you're protecting her. Yeah, I could see that. Or King Neptune, protecting him. But definitely, they're not playable characters by any means. If anything, you just protect them. But you could solve that by generic character that just has their name for a while, not until you have like Pirates Warriors 6 or 7 down the road, if they ever get that far. But 3, I think, was a fantastic game. Again, I think there were a couple chapters I would have actually put in there, a couple glaring omissions as far as characters that 100% should be there. So leave your thoughts, your comments, what you probably would do. Heck, I would probably think going and doing Impel Down and breaking into 2 parts, the part going down and the part going back up, I think would have been interesting, because, I mean, Luffy did have to go through the lower levels to get to Ace, and then have to go back up. So, I mean, that would have been a good way of doing it. And having it actually look like he's going down, like, stairs, if you could make it, like, somehow hills, I guess. I mean, they've never really done that in Pirate Warriors, but in that one place, I definitely would have considered, because it is a gigantic prison going from the top to the bottom. It's just me. My thinking. So, again, leave your thoughts, comments below, and tell me what you think about it. Okay, thank you.